Welcome back to Based on the Bible. Tables crash, coins scatter, a whip cracks through the air. This is not the Sunday school Jesus. This is the Jesus who flips the system upside down. Why would he do this? And what do the subtle differences in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John reveal about what was really happening? Today, we are diving deep into all four accounts of one of the most shocking moments in his ministry. This is the cleansing of the temple. Before we step into the chaos, if you love seeing the Bible broken down in a way that makes sense, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We would love to have you in the community. Part 1, the setting and the system. All four Gospels agree on the setting. Jesus arrives in Jerusalem for Passover. The city is overflowing with pilgrims, and the temple is the beating heart of Jewish life. But when he enters the temple complex, he finds a marketplace. This is not just a few people selling souvenirs. It is a massive, loud, and smelly operation. In the Gospel of John, chapter 2, verse 14, it says, "He found in the temple those who sold oxen and sheep and doves, and the money changers sitting at their business." To understand Jesus' rage, we have to understand why they were there. This market was actually considered a necessary part of the temple system. First, there were the animal sellers. Pilgrims traveled hundreds of miles. They could not bring their own unblemished animal for sacrifice. They were required. Without one, your sacrifice was not valid, and the prices were massively inflated. Second, there were the money changers. This was the real racket. The law, going back to the book of Exodus chapter 30, required every Jewish man to pay an annual temple tax, but you could not pay it with Roman money. Why? Because a Roman denarius had the face of Caesar on it, often with the inscription "Son of God." It was a graven image, an idol, and considered blasphemous. So pilgrims had to exchange their Roman coins for an acceptable currency, the Tyrian shekel. The money changers charged an outrageous exchange fee for this service. And where was all this happening? In the court of the Gentiles. This was the only place non-Jews, the nations, were allowed to come and pray. And it had been turned into a loud, chaotic, and exploitative stockyard. This was not a convenience. It was a sanctioned system of corruption, run with the full permission of the temple authorities. Part 2, the action in each gospel. Jesus enters this scene. Luke chapter 19, verse 45 is brief and blunt. He entered the temple and began to drive out those who sold. Matthew chapter 21, verse 12 adds more detail. Jesus drove out all who sold and bought in the temple, and he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. Mark chapter 11, verses 15 and 16 includes everything Matthew does, but adds one striking note. Jesus would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. He did not just stop the business, he shut down the shortcut traffic, restoring the entire space as sacred. John chapter 2, verses 15 and 16 is the most vivid. Jesus makes a whip of cords, drives out the livestock, pours out the coins, flips the tables, and commands, "Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of trade." Notice what John shows us. This was not a tantrum. He made the whip. This was a deliberate, intentional, and symbolic act. He drove out the animals with the whip, not the people. He overturned the system. Part 3, the prophetic indictment. The synoptic gospels explain why he did this. Jesus, in righteous anger, quotes the prophets. Mark chapter 11, verse 17 records him saying, "My house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have made it a den of robbers." That one sentence is a direct combination of two Old Testament prophecies. First, Isaiah chapter 56, verse 7, "For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations." Jesus is furious that the one place the Gentiles could come to pray had been stolen from them and turned into a marketplace. The leaders had excluded the very people God had invited in. Second, Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 11, "Has this house which is called by my name become a den of robbers in your eyes?" This is the knockout punch. In Jeremiah's day, the people were committing sin. oppressing the poor, and then running to the temple, treating it like a criminal's hideout, a den of robbers where they felt they were safe from God's judgment. Jesus is saying the leaders are doing the exact same thing. They are running a system of financial extortion, oppressing the poor, and then hiding behind the temple's sanctity, thinking their rituals made them safe. Jesus is not just flipping tables. He is bringing charges. But for the big question about timing, here is the twist. The Gospels do not agree on when this happened. Matthew, Mark, and Luke place it at the end of his ministry, right after the triumphal entry. It is the final straw, the public challenge to the authorities that pushes them to plot his death. But John places it at the very beginning of his ministry, in chapter 2, right after his first miracle at Cana. So what is going on? There are two main views. Some say there were two cleansings, an early warning shot at the start of his ministry and a final decisive act at the end. Others hold the more common scholarly view. It happened once at the end, but John, writing his gospel, moved it to the front for a powerful theological reason. He wanted to frame Jesus' entire mission. From day one, Jesus came to confront and replace the corrupt temple system. That is why John immediately records Jesus saying, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." John then explains he was speaking about the temple of his body. Conclusion and call to action. By looking at all four Gospels, we see the full in-depth picture. The righteous anger against exclusion, the prophetic judgment, and the stunning declaration that Jesus himself is the new and true temple where all nations can really come to God. This moment is not just about tables and coins. It is about access, justice, and the heart of worship. So here is my question for you. Which Gospel's account hits you hardest? John's whip of cords, Mark's detail about stopping shortcuts, or Matthew's focus on the money changers? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear your take. And if you want more than surface-level Bible stories, if you want the depth, the drama, and the truth, hit that subscribe button and join us here every week on Based on the Bible. Thanks for watching.